No doubt. We back up in this. I am the Nine Cypher. You are in tune with Black Dot Chronicles. Coming to you live and direct from Soda Sound Lab. And this is Crypto Cult, Dark Side of the Moon, hidden in plain sight. Back at it again. So I've given you part one of Crypto Cult, which was the digital asset Trojan horse. And in part one, I just simply broke down, really just shooting off at the mouth about my growth into cryptocurrency and how I got introduced to cryptocurrency, when I made my first purchase, and when I discovered the Trojan horse. The digital asset Trojan horse in the form of cryptocurrency and the blockchain. I begin to unravel the significance of symbols and symbology in part one, just briefly, and in part two, the creation protocol, the God code. I expounded on this subject in great detail. Part 2A, 2B, and 2C. Now I just want to put the cherry on top. And no doubt by the time we finish this particular production, more eyes will be open, for sure. So that's what we're going to do. If you have not checked out parts 1 and 2 of Crypto Cult, I suggest you definitely go get on top of that. Either before or after you check out this particular presentation. But either way, if you have not seen that, then definitely go back and check it. And as always, if you feel like anything that I present has any relevance or merit, do me a favor and just pass it on. Share it. You can like or dislike whichever one you want, but if you are feeling this material, then definitely pass it on, because it's not necessarily like an ego thing for me. I think that there's people that really, I think everybody needs to see this and understand, if not from me, then from somewhere. So this is where I am with it. Now, if you recall, when I broke down creation protocol, the God code, in part C, I showed you blockchain companies, and I showed you, not all of them of course, but I showed you enough. I gave you enough of a sample size that illustrated what I spoke of in part 1 and part 2A and 2B. So I showed you the language, the tools, the playbook of the beast, and how that interacts with the framework, the God code. And I showed you how they use their tactics in conjunction with, I called it imperfect symbology, as I gave the example of the swastika. and how it was used in opposition to its original form. So the energy was perverted and disrupted and used as a symbol for hate. Similarly, you see these same type of imageries and perverted symbologies on the blockchain, and honestly all throughout the Fortune 500 world. No matter what country you live, you will see this symbology when you're dealing with certain type of companies across every industry. Now, I showed you this one company called Ambrosius in part C of the guide code, along with several other blockchain companies. And I said I will come back to this one. Now, as you can see, this is the logo for the ticker. If you look up Ambrosius, AMBROSUS, again, you've got the O, C, and I, and you have a latch key as the iris. So as I'm doing my research, of course, you always go to the website and you check out the website. And once I went to the website of Ambrosius, which I will show you shortly, it was very clear to me that this was a prime example of hidden in plain sight. And remember, they tell you the opposite of truth. Remember, that's one of their main criteria in their agenda. They always give you the opposite of truth. So wherever they're pointing, you need to look in the opposite direction for the real answers, 99.9% of the time. All right, so a bit about this Ambrosius company. First thing you need to know, as always, we need to get into a bit of definition. Now, the name itself is quite interesting. And again, once I saw the name and then I saw the logo, the icon, the iconography, that stimulated me to go deeper into the research. Not always the case, but once these things connect in certain ways, then you can pretty much guarantee that there's something else going on besides whatever they're projecting on the surface. So, ambrosia is essentially, in ancient times, they called it the nectar of the gods. Now, I looked up a couple different sites, Wikipedia, even definitions for ambrosia themselves, and everything went back to Greece and the ancient Greek civilization, which often does, but again, definitely misleading, because the first time I've even ever heard this word was when I was researching Sumeria, not Greece. And everybody knows that Sumeria is, if Greece is ancient, then Sumeria is like old as fuck on top of ancient. All right. So in Sumeria, this is one of the things that was spoken about in the Earth Chronicles by Zechariah Sitchin when he spoke about, and this was in the first book. This was the Earth Chronicles was a series of books written by Zechariah Sitchin, who I think he is no longer with us. But in the 12th Planet, which was the first book, he spoke about this drink that the Anunnaki would drink, and it was called, or they would consume on, like, we drink beer or something. It was called ambrosia. And it was basically like this drink that gave you the gift of immortality and gave you, like, quote unquote, God type abilities and status. So I think it was interesting, again, that essentially this is what they're naming their company, because obviously Ambrosius comes from the root ambrosia, or even amber, which is the actual name of the coin, the native token of Ambrosius. So let's look at the definition of ambrosia. Very closely related to the gods' other form of sustenance, nectar. The two terms may not have originally been distinguished, though in Homer's poem, nectar is usually the drink and ambrosia, the food of the gods. All right, so if we go down a bit more, It reads, the consumption of ambrosia was typically reserved for the divine beings. Upon his assumption into immortality on Olympus, Heracles is given ambrosia by Athena, while the hero Tydeus is denied the same thing when the goddess discovers him eating human brains. In one version of the myth of Tantalus, part of Tantalus' crime is that after tasting ambrosia himself, he attempted to steal some away to give to other mortals. Those who consume ambrosia typically had not blood in their veins, but ichor, the blood of immortals. So you see where I'm going with this. As I told you before, when I gave you the definitions for esoteric and subconscious, this is part of the whole esoteric world, okay? Ambrosia is not something that's consumed by the masses. In fact, it's even beyond that. It's consumed by the gods. That's how rare this particular substance is. Only consumed by the gods, that esoteric few. If you're not in the circle, then you can't get it. So, again, just some quick definition of what ambrosia means and where that term even comes from as we move forward. Now, the web page. I'll just let you marinate on that for a minute. What does that look like to you? They took that all-seeing eye to the very next level. To me, this is a Death Star. All-seeing eye, Death Star, Eye of Horus. Not only that, you've got the sun fading beyond the horizon of the earth itself. And if you look closely, you see pieces of, I don't know, looks like something's been blown up or shattered. I don't know what type of material. You can use your imagination. It could be man-made. It could be from interstellar. But obviously we see this debris is within the Earth's vicinity, maybe headed towards the Earth's atmosphere even. And the last thing I notice is they've got this grid around the entire planet. You see nothing but geometry, vector points, circles inside circles, lines. All right. And remember I told you in part C of the God Code, if you go to a lot of these websites on the blockchain, these blockchain companies, a lot of them, most of them, if not all of the major ones, they've all got this vector point type imagery and artwork on their webpage. So you've got this rotating eye of fucking Horus, Death Star, just hovering right above the earth, watching everything. Everything. All right. So on the first page, it says decentralized IoT. I'm assuming most of you watching this piece already is pretty familiar with blockchain, but if this is your first time hearing about this type of information, IoT stands for Internet of Things. So they're into the centralized Internet of Things networks for next generation supply chain. As I show you this, you'll find pretty quickly that their use case is similar. It's almost a twin sister to another company that we all know and love in the cryptocurrency world. Now we go to page 2. Wow, what a scene. Now I'm assuming this is some city on this planet, but I can't be sure because looks like we got either two moons or two suns. I would say two moons maybe. And again, looks like we've got debris from space raining down on the planet. But what's most interesting and possibly disturbing to me Or these floating cubes? What's going on with that? It looks like a couple of things. It could be something as innocuous as maybe like floating blockchains or something, facilities or whatever. Um, or maybe it's like prisons. That's another thing it could be right off the top of my head. Maybe they're floating prisons. Who's going to escape from there? Seriously. Or it could be, what do they call them nowadays? UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon, aka UFOs. That could be another possibility as well. So you've got this company that's all they're doing is, IoT, track and trace systems, supply chain type of stuff, and they've got all of this imagery going on their website. Looks like a scene from Star Wars, or something of that liking. So let's get into this. What is Ambrosius? Ambrosius is a blockchain-powered IoT network for food and pharmaceutical enterprises, enabling secure and frictionless dialogue between sensors, distributed ledger, and databases to optimize supply chain visibility and quality assurance. Sounds like anyone that we probably are more familiar with on the blockchain. VeChain, maybe? Just like VeChain. This is VeChain's sister out of the UK. No doubt. Everything they do is identical to VeChain's use case and what VeChain is known for right now. So our mission is to set the global standard for decentralized chain supply management, provide quality assurance in enterprise IoT systems. All right. Same thing with VeChain, quality assurance, decentralized supply chain, track and trace, essentially. So these are the four components of their enterprise: supply chain optimization, quality assurance, logistic tracking, anti-counterfeiting. Exactly like VeChain, right? So I'm just wondering, this company seems to have a pretty good use case, right? But nobody's ever heard of them. Even their market cap is not very big, only a couple of million, like single digit millions is the market cap. So just a couple little sentences of each one. Supply chain optimization: secure, reliable, and real-time sensor to blockchain data exchanges helps enterprise leverage high integrity analytics to realize peak supply chain efficiencies from assembly line to distributor. Same with quality assurance. So they're basically saying whatever product you got, it could be a high-end product or something like medical or grocery store or people. Because when you talk about the Internet of Things and you understand what they already have in place for our immediate future, which is for everything to be a commodity on the blockchain, everything and everyone. We are a commodity on the blockchain, and it will more than likely be by coercive force. Problem, reaction, solution. Hegelian dialectic. Essentially exactly what's going on now. Using this covert 19 as a cloak. And your solution is, of course, digital assets, blockchain. Only trick is you will be tracked and traced, just like a commodity or high-end item. You will be tracked and traced. So let's go. Go to page 4. We go deeper into this new world. They talk about technology. The core of Ambrosius is a decentralized protocol that tracks, stores, and transmits assembly line and sensor data about food, pharmaceuticals, and chemicals, and you can throw people in there as well. These are the primary components, okay? So again, just rock with me for a minute. If you are planning diabolical maneuvers on the unsuspecting public. You think it's best to tell them exactly what you're going to do, because they've never done that. At least not straight up and in our face above the surface. Maybe subliminally or hidden in plain sight, as I'm showing you with this particular blockchain company. But they're not going to tell you straight up. So they'll give you, again, they'll tell you with this new technology how we can bank the unbanked and, do all of these grandiose, benevolent things. But also on the opposite equal end of that polarity is that can also imprison entire nations of people, turn entire nations of peoples into ultimately techno slaves under this new technocratic oligarchy that we have no control and no say. All right, so let's keep moving. Page 5, censor system, whatever. We won't get too much into that. I've already given you those things. Basically, everything you see here can be used for commodities, like, in organic things like machinery, chips, can be used for organic things like food, animals, and once again, human beings. Okay, they operate on Ethereum. So there you go. Secure data storage. Again, we know everything is about data storage. That's why I showed you those. I spoke about those floating blocks over the city. So basically our prisons, maybe you got prisoners working in these data storage facilities that are ET or whatever. So I'm just giving you, again, I don't know if this is absolutely true, but if I'm a betting man, I would say absolutely this will unravel. Maybe in 5 years, 10 years, we don't know. But as this thing heats up, we will be tracked and traced just like these other Internet of Things, for sure. No doubt about it. So once Ambrosia censors digital data and issue product identity tags, RFID, or attribute certificates, all readings are recorded on AMB's Net's distributed ledger, providing an immutable and tamper-proof record of the product's entire life cycle. All right, they're just talking about developer tools. Now, go into the back alleyway. All right, just like hustlers, they're hustling you what they're gonna do. But this is the front end, right? This is what all of the retail customers see here. On the back end are governments and multinational corporations that are using the same technology for no doubt malicious means. No doubt. And even with the food, you already have the World Economic Forum telling you that you're not going to be able to consume meat anymore because you need to help out the planet. And again, I don't consume meat at all for a long time. And I feel some kind of way about that, just because I think that everything should be a choice. People have to come to their own understanding and clarity about this existence one by one. So, obviously we could probably cut down on consuming all kinds of things because, truth be told, I'm sure the way they do everything on such an industrial scale now is probably ineffective to produce a lot of vegetable, fruit, and grain as well, because we live in an inefficient society and it was built that way. So, these are some of the things we can look forward to. Now, this is the fun part. This is when the rubber meets the road, right? And this is when you kind of see what, like a more clear picture again of what these guys are going to be doing and what type of reach they will have. Immediately, you've got the United Nations on board with these cats. And if you go in and you read into their white papers, they're pretty much going to be dealing with the third world. So they're like the V chain of the third world, even though they're located in India. I'm sorry, in the UK, in England. They got some Bitcoin reps on board. They got Microsoft, I see here, Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, right? Who else you may have heard of? You got One Planet. Oh yeah, they're going to be tracking and tracing every single animal on land first, and then they're gonna try to do the same thing on C. No bullshit. There's crypto companies out there specifically set out to track and trace and tag every single animal on the planet. Craziness. You got food lines, you got all the, again, Fortune 500 companies in and around the world that are on board with this. So again, what this is telling me, considering the Swiss Food Research Board, all these type people, and again, look at these logos, look at the iconography. That's all you got to do. It's always there. I am betting that this company is going to be a major player in these third worlds with regards to getting them on this grid, track and trace grid, banking the unbanked, leveling the playing field. And these are just a bit of the published press they've gotten since they've come to pass so far. All the same ones, no big deal with that. So I just wanted to get that to you. I wanted you guys to see that and understand more clearly what I was trying to tell you and what I will continue to show you with regards to crypto and the blockchain and this Trojan horse they're calling digital currency. It's a slave mechanism. That's the ultimate end game, unless we go in and we take control of it. As I said before, the blockchain is like a chessboard. It doesn't matter if I'm a chess master. It don't matter how much material wealth or material gains the cat sitting aside from me may have. If I can master you on this chessboard, if I can master you on this blockchain, then it's all good. But it's going to take many people having a certain understanding and having a certain will to invest in a real future, not necessarily one that's based on material gains that we all, gravitate to the blockchain for, right? We're trying to go into something that's a bit deeper than that, because if we don't got the true fight, the true war, it's a war for souls. That's the end game. This is an energy war. And if you don't have a certain energy about you, you will fall through the cracks no matter how much you go to the moon, how many of them bags you got packed. It won't matter. You got to understand that. So that's really the deal. And, moving forward, I will continue to break bread. The next installment will be on your boy Satoshi Nakamoto. We're going to get into his origin story and everything surrounding that as we unravel this. But have no doubt, by the time we finish with this production in its totality, you will have a very, very clear picture of who these players are, why they do what they do, what their ultimate end game is, and how we fit into that picture. It ain't nothing nice, I will say that. So, again, this is basically an addendum to part 2 of Crypto Cult, the creation protocol. This is an addendum. I just wanted to tie that all up before we move forward, so you can clearly see when I'm saying to you, when I'm giving you the playbook, when I'm giving you the agenda, all right, when I'm giving you their bag of tricks, their toolbox they use in order to execute, when I'm breaking all that to you, when I'm breaking down the framework or the creation protocol, as I call it, the creation story, as the holy books call it, and as these occultist, secret, wannabe esoteric masters who only want to rule and control in an unnatural, inorganic, non-sustainable manner, why they tell us differently. So if you understand that, Hopefully that picture is clear. If it's not, it will definitely come into focus as we move forward. I won't take any more of your time. Happy holidays to all. I know them streets is rough out there, but just keep steady on your square and make sure you always embrace those ones that are important to you, because that's where the energy really comes from. Regardless of how crazy this world is, regardless of whatever we're putting forth right now, there's only one reason, and that's to understand why you're here. And once you know why you're here, you elevate and you shine like the sun. This is Black Dot Chronicles. I am the Nine Cypher. Peace.